Welcome to the Taide Argelia Show, a podcast for fashion creatives and lovers of unique clothing. We share the behind-the-scenes do's and don'ts of creating beautiful garments to have you feel good in what you wear. I'm your host, Taide Argelia.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 2 of the Taide Argelia Show. I'm your co-host, Jeremy Wolf. I see a look. Did I get that wrong? Isn't this episode number 2?
I think it's number 3, Jeremy.
Okay, so you know what? Welcome to episode number 3 of the Taide Argelia Show. Yeah. I mean, I do a lot of these, so you can't fault me there. But it is so nice to see you again, as per usual. How you been?
Likewise, I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I cannot complain. Doing very well. Thank you for asking.
Good.
So I know in the past you've emphasized the importance of teamwork in fashion design.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on why you believe fashion is truly a team effort?
It definitely is a team effort because, well, let me back it up. As a solo fashion designer, doing my own thing, I am actually wearing the many hats that when I used to work with Anna Sui, this is where I really got to understand that fashion is teamwork, because there is a department for every single part of the process. So that's where I really understood that, wow, this is something that you could really expand on and you could really get the most off if you have certain people doing only certain things. So that way you can kind of grow and you could do more. So with that said, what are the different parts of this team that I'm talking about that is necessary? We definitely will start with designing. So as a designer, a lot of times people think that the designer actually does the illustration, maybe even some of the sewing, which is true, but not necessarily. And now I'm going to give some insides. I used to work with someone that was part of the Ralph Lauren, depending on who and how it's pronounced. I don't really remember who pronounces it how, but we'll skip over that.
Ralph Lauren. No?
Ralph Lauren. Okay,
Ralph Lauren. I don't know.
Until he corrects me, please correct me if I'm wrong, Ralph Lauren. So I knew somebody that worked at his company, and they said he doesn't know how to sketch. Aha! Huh. So you don't necessarily have to know how to illustrate or sketch. You just need to have a concept and an idea, and that's where having a team to execute your concept and idea comes into fruition. Well, adds to make things come into fruition. So as a designer, you're the one with the concept, you're the one with the idea, you're the one with the vision of where and what you want to create and what is the ultimate goal of that collection.
It's interesting. So, you know what came to mind as you were explaining that? Because I was thinking, you have to put pen to paper and come up with your design. But you were talking about just having the concept in your mind and having an illustrator with you. I thought of like a police sketch artist, right? When you're trying to idea subject and from your memory, you're explaining it. You could have that grand idea in your head, and then you could have a talented illustrator there, and they could put it down to paper and come up with that design for you.
That is a really great point, because I always wondered how this illustrator got so close to that person just given the description. And that is a really, really, really great point, because that was what a designer really does. He or she has that idea, that concept, that vision. They're just seeing something in their minds. But a lot of times, and even when I was teaching, one of the things that I noticed, and I always used to tell my kids, I used to ask them, I used to kind of give them more of a workable questions. How is the model going to get in and out? Because they would always just, oh, miss, I want it to look like this, and I want this fabric, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, how's the model going to get in and out? So there, you need someone to even though you have that vision, you have that concept, you have that idea, you want somebody that is more practical, that is going to question the functionality of that design.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you have the concept and that's put on paper.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What's next from there?
All right, so you have the concept and you put it, who is putting it on paper is the illustrator. Yes, sometimes the designer is an amazing illustrator. Like Karl Lagerfeld was just amazing in his illustrations. He had a particular way that he illustrated, and everybody knows Karl Lagerfeld's designs and illustrations, right? So as I said before, the designer doesn't necessarily have to be the illustrator. I could use my experience when I worked at Anna Sui. She had a department just for the design, well, it was a design department, and she had a lot of college students, young graduates, and a bunch of them just came up with designs, sketches, a bunch of sketches. And what the process was is that maybe like weekly, don't quote me on the exactitude of all of this, but basically you have a team that is just doing sketches and illustrations based on the ideas of the designer. And then let's say weekly you gather these sketches, these illustrations, and the designer that is in charge will look through and see, okay, yes, this goes with the concept that I have. Yes, yes, no. So that is the idea. You come up with different sketches and you choose the ones that are closest to your concept or idea. When I used to work at the High School of Fashion Industries, I was the fashion show coordinator, creative director, and that's what I had the students in different classes. I think I had about 8 different senior classes, and they will have a time period where they had a theme for each section of the fashion show, and they will come up with different sketches and illustrations for that theme. And literally, I had to go through hundreds of sketches and illustrations to choose the best ones that would best interpret that concept that was the theme for that specific section. So same thing in a smaller scale. As a design house, the head designer is choosing through all these illustrations and sketches. So that is step number 2. So step number 1 was the designer, or the concept, the idea. 2, illustrator, the ones that are putting that idea and concept onto paper. And next we go into draping. Let's say we already chose those sketches, those illustrations that best will represent that concept. And then we have to pass those over to our draping and pattern making team.
It definitely does seem like a team effort, but I'm curious, when one is just starting out as a fashion designer, I'd imagine oftentimes you're not going to have a whole team. So you probably have to do a lot of these individual parts yourself, which is cool because you get to learn what your strengths and weaknesses are.
Yes.
And then ultimately, as you grow, you could start delegating. You could take, if let's say you're a good illustrator, you could focus on doing that. Or if you're good at like Ralph Lauren, the concept part, you could focus on finding good illustrators and good pattern makers, and like whatever you excel at, you could focus on that and fill out your team accordingly, right? Is that a safe assessment of the situation?
Definitely. Accurate. Definitely. So I'm who you're talking about. I am that person right now that is wearing those
many hats,
the many hats. And as such, oh gosh, it's funny because I speak with my husband and I kind of comment about this all the time. There are times that I am doing a lot of the designing, sewing, putting it together, taking it apart in my head, because it's only me. So I'm trying to do all the steps in my head, because here's the thing. When there is a limited budget, that's the other thing about being able to have a team and being able to have a huge company where you have different departments, there's more money available. But when you don't have the money available, you're doing all of that in your head. Like I do a lot of it in my head, because hey, I don't have the luxury of 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 creating 3, 4, 5 samples of that garment that is made out of a fabric that might be like $60 to $100 a yard. I don't have the luxury of making a mistake with that $100 a yard fabric. So I go through this construction and all of this in my head to try to prevent, or try to guess at what will work best in creating this particular garment. But when you have the funds and the finances to do that in a big department, yes, you can have, let me try this garment in this concept in this $100 fabric. Oh, does it look good? Does it fall right? Oh, well, it's not that perfect. Let's make another. And remember, I don't know if you remember from last week, we were talking about sample sale. There goes where you have the different samples that didn't make the cut, but they're not necessarily terrible. So we could sell it to the public at a lower price. But as a single, whoever is doing a solo designing like myself, solo custom made items, you don't necessarily have that luxury, unfortunately.
I gotta believe that when you have a solo designer working on something from start to finish, the end product is just going to be that much better. It's almost like having a home cooked meal, from someone. They put their love and attention to every component. There's like an intangible that's just a little bit better. And I think that's the trick with scaling, right? And growing a business, you kind of lose that because you're, again, it's a fine balance between that. But I got to believe that ultimately the end product, when you're doing it yourself, is gonna be better.
Good point. I'm glad you pointed that out. Yes, when you're having that custom designer, that one person that does everything, yes, we do have the setbacks of not having all the finances that we would love to have. But yes, on the other hand, we are giving you that unique individual attention, where we are creating a particular specific pattern to you. Whereas as a big company, we are using what is called a sample model, because we might have one particular sample dress form here. This dress form here is I think is a size 6. So whatever the measurements of this dress form, I'm going to consult with a company to hire a sample model that will be this particular sizing for all the garments that I create. Because let's say for my company, I want to do a size 6. So therefore, I'm going to hire someone that is that size 6. But here's the thing. As women, we could be from the waist up a size 6, but from the waist down, maybe a size 8 or a size 10. So there, with the difference between a bigger company, they're only going with this dress form sizing, and we found a model, a sample model that will be this. But the regular woman coming to a custom designer as myself, I could accommodate for your size 6 from the waist down and do my alterations to make you look gorgeous and tailored from the waist down as well. All right. So we are, from the waist up is one size, from the waist down it might be another size. Maybe you have narrower shoulders, maybe you have wider shoulders. With a custom designer, they're going to look at all those things that are unique to your body type to create for you a garment that just fits perfectly.
And this is how you make people feel good
in what they wear.
Yes.
Taide,
always a pleasure. Looking forward to continuing the conversation.
Yes.
And we will catch you next time. To our listeners, thanks for tuning in. And we will see you on the next episode. Definitely. Everyone have...
That has to continue. There's so many parts to this. And hey, we're going to take one small bite at a time at this.
Absolutely. All right, Taide, have a wonderful day. Everyone take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Taide Argelia Show. Join our mailing list and shop the Taide Argelia capsule collection at taideargelia.com. That's TAIDEARGELIA.com. Or contact us at 347-370-1335. Taide Argelia, designs to make you feel good in what you wear.